here. So locals, I'll explain that in a second. Oh, it sounds right. Okay, well, then to everybody, good morning. And let me turn off my Spotify, and then we can talk about how amazing your day is going to be, as well as mine is. This is the Freedom Coffee Livestream, where we all celebrate our freedoms, the freedoms that we currently have, and that the freedoms we aspire to expand in the future. So, as always, let me just get my Instagram up here and running, Instagram Live, which I don't know why. Okay, here we go. I think it's working, and it is. So, yeah, I hope you're all having an amazing morning. If any of the sound fluctuates or whatever on locals, which is right over here, I apologize. Yesterday, you ever have those days where you just want to smash your equipment? I was doing a radio show in Toronto, Mark Petroni's radio show, and, it was a really tight day. I had a couple of meetings, a whole bunch of stuff going on, and you'll notice I'm not in the truck, which I'll explain in a second. And so we set everything up, and I'm going to sit down at the workstation to start going, and all of a sudden, mic's not working. I've had the mic, for 2 weeks, maybe? And I got this splitter last week. Well, already the splitter decided it's not going to work just as we were going on air, which is perfect. Anyways, that was a pre-recorded interview, and it's going to be live today at 1 o'clock. If you're in the Toronto area, it's on AM 960. I go on regularly. I have for about a year now. Or on saga960.ca, I think is where they live stream it. So, yeah, just typical what Mark and I discussing the news in general, a little bit of Bitcoin, a little bit of finance, economy, all that sort of stuff. But good news and bad news. But it is what it is. So I thank you all for being here. And I really can't thank you enough. It's these mornings are great, especially these weeks where I have more consecutive mornings where I'm available. Unfortunately for me, the reason I'm available is because I'm getting all new brakes put on my truck. Any idea how much a set of brakes are for a tractor trailer with disc brakes? Not cheap. Anyways, it is what it is. I hope you have your coffee or beverage of choice, and I hope everybody is having a better morning today than they did yesterday. Even yesterday, I don't know, for you guys, for me, it was an amazing day. I had I reconnected with a professor that I used to know at Ryerson. He happened to see me during my meeting with my editor earlier in the week, and we decided, hey, let's get together and just catch up. Really, really nice person, really concerned. She's retired now. Explained to me some of the nonsense that has been going on in Ryerson, and I said, yeah, that's why I got out of it, and that's why I got somewhat politically active, just because I felt like I had to do something. I had to contribute. We all have to contribute from putting an end to the woke supremacist madness, which is what she was experiencing, and telling me some of the stories of what goes on behind the scenes in a university in Canada. And it's absolutely crazy, but it's not news to many of us. So anyways, can't have faulty brakes when you're driving a big rig, so it is a necessary expensive. Well, yeah, I know, but it's just, it's a regular maintenance item, and I'm pretty careful and ensuring that all maintenance is done, prior to it becoming a problem, because I don't want to have to sit on the side of the road, which I've had to do once when shortly after I got my truck, and it was annoying to sit there for 8 hours on the side of the highway on Highway 87. But anyways, but those are, at the same time, it was, there's some positive too, right? Yeah, it was annoying because I didn't know how long I would be there, and I ended up being there for so long. But I had my computer, I had Wi-Fi, I had a lot of work to do, so I went to the back, and there's like a desk area next to the bed, or next to the lower bed. I popped up my laptop and just started crunching away at work. I think I edited a couple of podcasts and did a number of things that day. So it wasn't, it wasn't a lost cause. Anyways, is Canada in the news again? Like, why are we always in the news for the most stupid things ever. You got the that teacher with the prosthetic breasts trying to dress like an anime character in Trafalgar School, the school on Trafalgar Drive, where I have family in that area, and yeah, that's pretty interesting. And then you have Blackface and his Bohemian, I call it Bohemian Blackface City, but Bohemian Rhapsody. Good morning, Kiss Junkie. It's good to see you. Yeah, it's really, clown world seems to be speeding up and getting more and more extreme as every day goes by, but it is what it is. What a redemption of that song. Yeah, he's, there's nothing Blackface can do well. He can't sing. He can't act. He knows nothing about politics. And as he said, as I said on the radio yesterday when Mark asked me a question about blackface decision-making, I said, as Justin Trudeau said, I am not the intellectual my father was. And his father was not impressive either. So what does that tell you? We are the drama of the world. Yeah, we are. We've become kind of the joke of the world. But at the same time, I don't know about you, for me, I just kind of laugh. We know it's not going to go on forever. More and more regular people, good morning everybody on Instagram, more and more people are starting to become, I don't want to say awake, but aware that something's going wrong. And there's some people playing games and taking advantage of the goodwill of Canadians and of our laws in Canada that try to be as inclusive as possible. And people are just taking advantage of it for a whole bunch of different reasons, for the purpose of political gain, for money laundering, for a whole bunch of things. And regular people are just starting to get a little bit fed up with this. So the more it continues, the more the backlash will grow. So just got to be patient. It's just the nature of government and society. I wanted to talk a little bit today about that exact topic, Prime Minister Blackface and his singing of Bohemian Rhapsody, which is the song by Queen, for those of you who don't know, 3 hours before the Queen's funeral. And you start to think, how much of a spoiled brat is this kid, really? You're there for a funeral. You're the representative of a state. You're the head of state. I'm not terribly uptight with these sorts of things. I tend to be a lot more, as you can tell, casual in many circumstances, not always, because there are certain times where there's a certain level of decorum that is expected. There's a time and place for everything. The Queen's funeral, I don't think was, ahead of the Queen's funeral, I don't think was the time to be partying and singing. But that's just more of Blackface Trudeau taking a shit on Western society and Western values, like he always does, like a spoiled little bitch, because that's what he is. Sorry for the language, but yeah, I don't know how else to explain it, other than that he's a spoiled bitch. And it's really kind of sad. And I think that, irrespective of people's views on, there's all sorts of views you see spinning around about the Queen and the monarchy and all that sort of stuff. I spoke a little bit about this last time. Her role in the world from a very young age, that she took a very direct and leadership role. And remember, this was a different time back then. I remember my parents telling me what it was like in the late 50s and early 60s was a completely different world than it is today. And so you go 20 years ahead of that, and her becoming a mechanic in the auxiliary detachment in the British Army, despite her father objecting, and when her father realized she wasn't going to take no for an answer, he gave her the worst possible job, or the most difficult job perceived for a woman at that time. And she said, I don't care, I'm going to do it. And she did it. So when you talk about it's really sad that so much of the women's movement is being co-opted by extremists, because I mean that's the type of, irrespective of your views of England and a lot of people's misunderstanding or preconceived notions that are often false about England. I think that's the spirit of what women's liberation was about. It was not about equity. It was not even about equality. It was about freedom, that women have the freedom to make whatever decisions they want for themselves. And I think anybody who believes in freedom as we did, in Ottawa for the trucking convoy, whatever, believes that women should have the freedom to make decisions based on whatever they want, right? They want to do non-traditional jobs. Okay, they should have the freedom to do it. Will it be more difficult? Maybe, but that's their choice to at least try it, right? So, and it's just really annoying to see that Mr. Gender Diversity Cabinet, or 50-50. By the way, 58% of my audience is women. So Justin Trudeau is misogynistic compared with me. So, I'm just going to call him the misogynistic blackface from now on. Despite his rigging his cabinet and not choosing people based on merit, which I think is a negative for women, the fact that he then goes and craps all over tradition. And there's an importance in tradition, irrespective of problems in the past. There's no... I don't want to get into all the divisive things because we're going to talk about, the positive aspects of things. But I think the 50,000-foot view of the Queen was that she gave England its identity separate from politics. And that's why there's such a heavy investment in the monarchy and the royal family, that is the basis of their tourism industry. That is really what distinguishes it from the rest of Europe, that they're still holding on to the British Empire. I mean, how many empires around the world that when they crumbled had a whole bunch of countries that left aforesaid empire, but then also decided, you know what, but let's stick together in a commonwealth. I mean, that was the first empire ever. Why? Because despite all the problems, it's the empire that gave us human rights and gave us the Magna Carta and gave us our modern way of life, right? The U.S. went in an even more liberty-faced direction because they didn't want it to be given to them. They wanted to fight for even more freedoms. So it just kind of continued on the tradition. So the people who like Blackface, it's not surprising that he, good morning, Noriella. It's not surprising that he craps all over the traditions of the society that was the foundation of liberal principles and freedom, while he's an authoritarian thug who quashes peaceful protests, also something that comes from England, and freezes people's bank accounts, credit cards, corporate cards, lines of credit, assets, insurance, everything. He really is a piece of garbage. And it's nice to see that at least the world seems to agree. But I think you saw an unmasking there. So it's one of those stories that if you don't really think about it, you think like, he's just singing, whatever. Like when I first saw the clip, I didn't realize the context. I'm like, okay, that's just Justin being a horrible singer, right? But then when I found out, that was right before the funeral. That was appropriate. Was that in the funeral home? Like, Justin, maybe that next time you can go into the funeral home and hop on their piano and start singing and playing. Like, what a douchebag. He really is such a douchebag. But anyways, that's just my little, I don't know what you guys feel about it. Kiss Junkie, I agree 100%. Beth, yeah, I agree. There's a time and place for a karaoke song. That was definitely not the time or place. Yeah, karaoke would have been much better quality singing than JT. And the Brits are more Yeah, that's the other thing. A good point, Beth. that British society is far more proper in terms of their decorum. So that's an even more insult to the Brits, because they, I have three very, very close and dear friends, and one of them, and we joke he's a pain in the ass all the time, but he's British, and we talk about that all, and he's kind of, modern and whatever, but he's was very sad when the Queen died, because for them, this is what she was so revolutionary for. She really married the identity of England and tradition to the monarchy in a peaceful way, more than any other more than any other monarch in history. At least that's what it's being communicated to me by my friends who are British. And so that lack of decorum and compassion for the Queen should be something else we should attach to Trudeau's legacy, right? So anyways, if you think differently, let me know. And once again, my comments are, hey, Hitchhiker, what's up, brother? Anything big rig is pricey. Yeah, so I'm getting these brakes done, and Hitchhiker, my trucks got discs, which, are relatively new to the trucking industry, and I figure if I can get away with $8,000, then I'm lucky. Then I'll be okay. So hopefully none of the calipers are seized, but we'll see. All right. And good morning, Sonia and Megan and Ryan C7. What's up, brother? It's good to see you. Ryan, what do you think? Because I imagine this is definitely within your wheelhouse of concern, knowing your background. What do you think about Prime Minister Blackface's lack of respect for the Queen and for the monarch? I mean, the statement, I got to admit, the statement that he put out on Twitter when she passed was good. It was quite effective. But we also know he didn't write that. I mean, I don't think he did. I assume he didn't. Amanda, after we really shocked he went to another country and embarrassed... are we really shocked he went to another country and embarrassed Canada? Yeah, that's kind of what he does, right? That's his shtick. Just go to another country and be an asshole. That's what Trudeau is. Got it. Anyways. All right, next. So I went on to... I was thinking about this when I was just throwing this out last night. So I get on the Twitter, and I have... It's weird. Sometimes I have, no message, then I have, 50. It's weird. Twitter has clearly been playing with my algorithm. It's so funny. It gets to, my followers get to 40... It started doing in decimals out of nowhere just after the convoy or during the convoy. It would get up to, 48.2 thousand followers. And then it would go back to 48.1 and 48.2, 48.1. It would do that back and forth for, weeks at a time. And then it goes up to 48.3. And I'm like, okay, well, then there's an algorithmic cap on my account that it just broke through. It goes 42.3 and 48.3 and then 48.4. And then... No, then it goes 0.3 again, 0.2 again, 0.1. It's just so frustrating that these platforms manipulate their audience or their users the same way that CTV and Punchy McGregor lies to his viewers and his audience. By the way, this weekend, Saturday night, if you're available, at 8 o'clock, grab a drink, grab whatever you want. I'm probably going to grab a Smirnoff Ice because that's how I roll. And we're going to sit here together, whoever's around, and we're going to do a live stream watch party of Punchy McGregor's fake documentary about the Ottawa convoy. And I've mentioned a couple of times I've watched the first 10 or 15 minutes of it, and it's absolutely hysterical how they're trying to completely reframe it. So I figured what we'll do is we'll go, bit by bit, and I'll comment on things that I knew of that was going on at the time. But you can tell they're screwing with the timeline. They're not going consistent. They're taking stuff from all over different periods that were completely not relevant to one another. And then I was skimming through. I was watching but not listening while we were doing the test setup, and Jen was helping me out. I saw Salman was there. My friend Salman Seema was highlighted there. So who is an Iranian dissident and has some certain views about Justin Trudeau and the extremists who run our government. Karen, PM Assad is making a fool of himself and our country. Stop giving him attention and he will bury himself politically on the world stage. Yeah, I mean, at the same time, remember, so many people, you got to remember, people are not, I'm trying to be less and get away from it, but people are not all that political because they're busy. They're busy in their daily lives. They have kids and families or businesses to run or whatever. Like, you understand what that's like. So they don't really have the time to do the deep dive into politics, and that becomes the veil that many of the extremists who are in our government right now, that they use to camouflage themselves. So I think that's why it's important for people on social media and whatever to actually put the magnifying glass on them to say, hey, look, take a look. Because there's people in my family that up until the Freedom Convoy, actually, they were just like, he's just like all the other politicians. Like, no, he's not. He's not. And so as we put the magnifying glass, it's for those people who just don't have the time or inclination to be aware of what's going on. And I think that's why we do it. Now, there's some people who take it to the extreme. There's no question. And as you know, when we're doing this, I try to have this to be a positive space. This is why it's lighthearted, and we can enjoy this and make fun of this, because I think the horizon is great. I mean, we're going to get beyond this era soon. And then I think the future is really bright. I really do. But that doesn't mean we can't, talk and laugh and have a few jokes at them and whatever. So anyways. And going back to what I was getting into. So I go onto Twitter and I see all this stuff. And, these platforms are designed, they use behavioral economics. And they use it to intentionally anger you and to get you riled up and to get you upset about something. And because fear and anger are the most persuasive emotions. The second most persuasive emotion is humor and mockery, which is where I want to go. I just want to go with humor and positivity, enjoying ourselves, right? But they're utilizing these platforms to get people angered and engaged the same way the legacy media used to when it was relevant. That expression, if it bleeds, it leads. So this is kind of it bleeds, it leads on steroids. So I go onto Twitter and I see a few things, and I'm starting to get annoyed and I'm starting to think, should I respond? And then I stop myself and I realized something that I read in a book many years ago. And I don't remember what book it was. I wish I did. I was trying to purge my mind all night. And the idea of this book is very simple. Why are you getting angry? Because there's three simple words that, for me, that I use to pull myself out of that negative space. And that is, I don't know. Right? It was, I can't remember what it was specifically. It was annoying me last night. It was some, Hollywood celebrity that, some sort of nonsense, whatever it is. And you go on and then you realize, well, I don't know. Maybe there's more context to what they're saying. Maybe there's more context to the quote. Maybe that person misunderstands the issue and has come to a conclusion, or maybe they just have their opinion primed to them in a way that if you sat and spoke with them for 3 minutes, they would completely change their mind. That's possible. So I remember learning about the I don't know frame and trying to apply it to any time I would be given this sort of stimulus that was designed to make me angry. And I just immediately calmed down. I immediately said, okay, you know what? Then, maybe I don't know. Maybe everything is just being quote mined the same way that they didn't quote mine me very much during the convoy. They tried to quote mine some other people. But it's a good technique And I got to get a whiteboard in here so I can walk through some of these techniques in detail, some of the ones I've learned. But it's a good technique to, at least for me, that works, to avoid from getting emotionally invested in something that normally I would have zero emotional investment in, right? That the algorithm is trying to bait me into this emotional state of getting annoyed or upset with something, and then I switch to, well, I don't know, maybe not. And I don't know. That was, there you go. See? I don't know. And maybe that's something that would help you guys. That's why I wanted to share it. Maybe as you go through your social media feeds, your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever, and you start to see things that are either narrative driven or they're designed intentionally to prime you with either a political opinion or to get you angry with something, just look at it and say, well, yeah, but I don't know, maybe there's more to the story that I'm just not aware of. And it's kind of like in politics. Like I would get upset. People get upset at me all the time because there's certain a few very divisive political issues that they're always. It's used to kind of divide people into one or two camps, and I hate that. I really hate that because sometimes I can sit on both sides of an issue. Like I understand both sides, so it's very difficult to come to what is absolutely correct or not, because sometimes it depends on the circumstances. That sometimes one view is both views can be relevant, right? And so they do that frequently in politics. They try to kind of push you in either side. And, I would go in and I'd just say, yeah, I don't really have an opinion on that. So, well, what do you mean? That's like a big issue. It's always conservatives versus what was liberals, now progressives. And I'm like, no, that's not that. Not every issue in the world has to resonate with me emotionally, just like it doesn't have to resonate with you emotionally. Sometimes there's really a lot of solace in, I just don't have an opinion on that. I just don't care. That's not my issue. Let somebody else deal with that. So that's kind of, that's a similar approach that I find works, at least for me, because we're all subject to this being dragged into this hard emotional state and to get angry and to get upset. And I just think it's obviously it's not healthy. But it can easily be avoided. It can easily be avoided by saying, hey, yeah, there are some issues I care about, but there's some issues that are just not my issue. And I think if more people did that, it would be a lot easier to talk to people, especially with people that we would disagree on other issues. And they may have something they're very passionate about. And you say, well, yeah, for me, that's not really an issue. So, I'm kind of a safe zone for you on that issue because I'm not going to challenge you because I'm neither here nor there on it. So, and I was thinking about this too. Should I talk more? And Risa and I spoke about OmniFocus, and she's now working with it and using that structure and whatever. So I have this, apparently, I've been told many times by a bunch of people, a bunch of friends, especially my friends down south in Miami. I apparently have a unique ability to compartmentalize and to not let things get to me. And during the convoy, some people mentioned the same thing to me who would come in and out of my hotel room that were helping out and aiding stuff. They said, I remember one person specifically came in and said, "What's the matter with you?" I'm like, "What do you mean? What do you mean? What's the matter with me?" They're like, "Nothing phases you. Like you don't get upset." I'm like, "No, I get upset." Like, getting upset is not going to solve the problem. So I'm just going to take issue A. I'm going to put it in a little box. I'll put it on my list, and I'll get to it later. And I'll just focus on it later. What's to get upset for? Like I can't sit here and solve problems if I'm getting upset all the time, right? And I've been told a bunch of times throughout my life that I'm pretty good at it. And maybe it's because I've read so many books throughout my life, different marketing books, managing books, business management, psychological management, like, your own headspace, pop psychology, that sort of stuff. And maybe just between all of that stuff, I just kind of naturally figured out a system that works for me. And I've helped onboard a couple of people onto it in their lives too. And we've done purges and got all the anxiety out of their life. and really got them emotionally settled. I mean, they did it on their own. I just kind of gave them some suggestions, and then they would adopt it differently and focus and do a little bit of research, and they'd come up with a solution. So that's something I should talk about here. I mean, again, we want to do not only positivity, but I think it's a great forum for many of us to go back and forth and to share different suggestions on what we've done, what does work, what doesn't work. Like, I'd love to have Risa works this time of day, so she's usually here. She tries to be here on the weekends. But, you know, people like that who've decided, okay, I'm going to give this a try. This works, this doesn't work, that sort of stuff. Because I think to win all of the, for lack of a better term, the cultural battles in the world right now, which is what you saw in Ottawa, we need to be able to reframe ourselves in a way that we don't have any anxiety and that we can strategically address these issues without getting too emotionally invested. I mean, I'm a little, when I speak, I'm passionate about stuff. So when I speak, everybody says, "Oh, you speak with such passion." I'm like, because I do, because I care. You know, when I give a speech, I actually care about what I'm talking about, and I say what I think. It's not scripted, right? But that aside, doesn't mean that your emotional state should be, you know, chaos and not somewhat controlled and compartmentalized. And it's pretty easy. It's pretty easy to learn, in my opinion. And I've tried to help some other people, and it kind of worked. Liz, that's how they got away with all the COVID BS, because people think and act with their emotions instead of logic. Yeah, and I think that would be on both sides. You know, people get upset at me for saying that, but it was Scott Adams, actually, in one of his streams I was listening to in the truck, and he brought up this point. He's 100% correct that both sides, whether you're for a vaccine or against a vaccine, both of them were acting out of fear. We think we were acting out of rationale, but we're acting out of fear. The people who wanted the vaccine had a fear of COVID. The people who didn't want a vaccine had a fear that the vaccine would be problematic. But both of them made their decisions based on emotion and based on fear, which is fine. That's how humans operate. All of our decisions are emotional, and then we post-rationalize. So it's funny, like, with all, especially in Latin America, was a little bit more of a machista society. Morning, Pam. It's good to see you there. By the way, Pam, who is here on Instagram, is a lifesaver. She's helping out so much with everything we're doing. And give her a follow if you're on Instagram. She's the best. So in machista Latin America, you know, it's still a little bit more old school, men versus women. There are a lot more, like I was going to put out a tweet when I was down there, but I decided not to. Welcome to Latin America, where beauty standards and gender roles are alive and well. And that's just the way their society is, and I don't try to change it there. But, you know, they would be like, oh, yeah, women are crazy, women are emotional. And I would say to my friends, I'm like, yeah, so are you. Everybody's emotional. We all make emotional decisions. And that's fine. It's even better if we understand that, and then we understand that we post-rationalize. And that's how we're so easily tricked, right? You know, the data around the cerveza sickness. Like, okay, but the data is, depending on which side of the argument you're just going to interpret the data differently to support your confirmation bias, because data can be interpreted, right? And I saw a lot of that. That's why I've remained quiet about the cerveza sickness and the cerveza sickness medicine. I got to be more careful because I'm on YouTube, even though I think it's changed, but I'm not sure to what degree. And I just let all of you decide, and you decide for yourself. And I support wherever you are in the argument. I support on the debate. I support you. I support your right for freedom and to make your own decisions, and that your body is yours. It doesn't belong to the government, and you get to decide what you do with your body. And what your personal decisions are around whatever cerveza sickness medicine you take. That's your decision. I welcome you to it. I just don't like when people try to use it as a political spire to stab people with. I see a lot of that. See that? Oh my God, it's so funny. You see that in these you see in a lot of social media, see it a lot in dating apps, that they're so funny. It's all, you know, their political perspective and their vaccine status. Like, that's why they're a waste of time. It's so funny that people have just been pulled into these echo chambers on either side. And I'm just trying to say, hey, whatever you decide personally for yourself, that's your right, and I support you to do so. And I think more of us should be doing that, and our society would be better off. All right. Just want to mention before I go, because today's a little bit short. Today's another full long day of meetings. BJdichter.substack.com. That is the second tier for the triage to get tickets to the book launch. The primary tier for the triage to get tickets to the book launch will be this platform here, which is honkingforfreedom.locals.com, where Kiss Junkie and Beth and a few others are here regularly and sending me messages. Hey, guys, thanks again for being here. You're the best. So they're going to get primary for tickets to the book launch, and then everybody who subscribes to the Substack will have the same ability, and then it'll go to the general public, although I'm worried for some of you who would want to come that if you're not in one of those two platforms, I don't know, maybe it won't be a problem at all. Maybe nobody wants to come. But I'm guessing based on some of the people who will be there, beyond myself, because I'm just a regular dude, right? But some of the people who will be there will, you'll want to be there. So check those two things. Rumble as well. Honking for Freedom is on Rumble. I do have a Minds account. I'm just kind of two faces of it. Minds is an amazing version of Facebook. It just needs more people on there, and it needs more engagement. Hitchhiker, that might be something good for you. Minds.com. Check it out. I think that's your thing. I think you'll resonate with that. And that's I don't know. That's basically it for today. And thank you for being here. But I think just, you know, I'm dressed in black because, you know, the Queen's funeral, and Prime Minister Blackface, to honor his shoe polish that he carries in his holster around his waist, and that's our leadership. Anyways, I got to run. But thank you all for being here. I love you all, and I hope you have an amazing day. Make the best of it. Be kind to a stranger, or as many strangers as possible. You go for coffee, be nice to them in the coffee shop. You go shopping, you go to Walmart, whatever. Just ask how people's day are who are working there. I remember from working retail when I was a kid, that will change. They'll make the best of their day. It's amazing. Thanks, BJ, and everyone else. Great convoy. Great convoy. Had a great day. No convoy conversation. Yeah, great conversation. I got you. Yeah, so have a good day. Be good to everybody, and I got to run, and we'll talk to you all soon.